Hello developers, let's start developing. Today we're gonna take on the second task of the 2024 Advent of Code, which means we are hunting for a third and fourth star. Let's see what the task is. First time I'm seeing it. We need to render nuclear fission plant. Okay. Red-nosed reactor, RNR. Uh-huh. So levels separated by spaces. So this is some matrix thingy, I guess. Oh no! Each one is separate. Reports are safe. Either gradually increasing or gradually decreasing. Report only counts as safe if both of the following sectors are level either all increasing or all decreasing. Any two adjacent levels differ by at least one and at most three. Seems straightforward. So, seems relatively trivial, maybe even easier than the second part, but than the first task. But let's see. So it means our input will be something like this, and an input is an arrays of numbers. So instead of a string array, we're gonna have to do a number array. Which means process input, this will need to return those lines. So lines.map, split it on a space, and then parse out the numbers. So these are the reports. We have that. Let's see if this works. Console.log the input. Let's see if we get what we are supposed to get. And of course, we don't want to return the lines, we don't want to return the reports. I'll remove the second part since we're not there yet, and let's see if we can run this. Yep, makes sense. We're getting what we're doing. So I will kinda have several assumptions here. Yeah, our reports are all different lengths, so we cannot have an assumption on the length, but I think it's safe to assume that we don't have a report that is just a single number. We will need to take care of that if that was the case, but it's not. Which means that for each of the, we're gonna have the safe count here. We're gonna start it as 0, and then we're gonna just loop through the reports. We can do a for of loop. For each report of the input, well, what we need to do? We have two choices here. We can have it increasing or decreasing. So if it's increasing, we will need to find out the direction. So this one is decreasing, this one is increasing, decreasing, increasing, and so on and so forth. So what is the direction? The direction is basically a report of 0 minus report of 1 we can have some math here, but I will do it like this. If this thing is bigger than 0, then we have an increasing direction. Now if this is bigger than 0, that means that the first one is bigger than the second, that's decreasing, and that's increasing. Okay, and the limit is from 1 to 3. So now we can just loop through the report, and for that we're gonna need a regular for loop. And we're gonna start at 1. So we can say the current element is that, the previous element is that, and how best to write this? I know what I want to say, but I don't know how to say it. I'm not sure. If this, we need to find out the difference. That's the previous minus the current. So this is the delta. And if this is not the same sign as the direction, we skip. Otherwise, what otherwise? Yeah, this is a simple check. We multiply two numbers. If they're on the same side, if both numbers are positive or both numbers are negative, the result will be bigger than 0. So if the number is less than 0, then we are unsafe, actually. So we just can break this and continue on. So we're breaking this for loop just concludes and moves to the next report. So this is a check whether our diff and direction are on a different side of the 0. If they're on the different sides of the 0, then we definitely have an unsafe thing. Now we just need to check the limit. And since these are integers, we're okay. We don't even need to check about 1. Oh, and if they're the same, then that's also an error. So if this is 0, which means the previous and the current one are exactly the same, that will also be an unsafe thing. So now we can just check if the absolute value of the difference is bigger or bigger than 3. 3 is safe. Yeah, 3, 6 is safe. If we didn't break, we're gonna need to pull a variable, let broken, that's false, otherwise we're just gonna set it to true. So now we're just gonna say if it's not broken, console log rep, yeah, safe report is that one. We just want to see what the safe ones are, and then of course we're pointing out safe count. This required a bit of numbering, I would say, and it said that exactly none of these things are safe, and that's totally not the case. So we have a bug somewhere. Great. Starting from 1, so the looping is okay, is okay, is okay. Well, debug this a bit. I will just debug using console logs and things like that, so that's enough. Broken report, and this is diff direction error. And this is a diff error. Let's see if we have the results. because we detected all of them to be unsafe. We said direction error, direction error, direction error, so our direction logic is faulty. Let's see what happens for the first one, 7.6. So let's log the direction. Direction is -1, direction is 1, -1, 1, -1, 1. Okay, seems okay. So now we have previous, which is 7, minus current, which is 6. We're getting a 1. Oh, yeah. I knew that this would trip me up since we have a -1 here. Now I will do it the other way around. If the second one is bigger than the first one, then we have a growing, otherwise we have a falling. So the diff will be much more normal to define it like this. So now if it's rising, the diff will be positive. Makes much more sense. Let's see. So first one is safe, this has a diff error, this has a diff error, a direction error, and a safe report. Let's see. Safe, unsafe, 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 direction error, unsafe, direction error. Okay. Looks kinda okay, and I actually had a debug method here that I didn't really use. These console logs could have been left, just ignored if I respected the debug property, but I didn't. That's on me, so I will just remove them and rerun it, and it will say the result is 2. Let's see if this actually makes sense for the bigger input. We have 1,000 cases, and out of those thousands, 631 we think are safe. Let's see if the application, if the site thinks the same. It does, so we have our third gold star. Great, let's continue on the second star. Low number of safe reports. Okay. Oh, they forgot to tell me about the problem dampener. Of course, that's life of a software development. Project managers will always forget about some tiny and a bit critical piece of requirements. Reactor monitoring reactor safety system tolerate a single bed level in what will otherwise. Okay. So now we can do a brute force thingy, or we can do some logic. And of course, I'm a huge fan of brute forcing things, especially if we fill the requirements. So, what I will do, I will kind of copy over this thing. So we have some similar things. Let's see if this goes. So, now, yeah, we don't need this, we don't need this. I will leave them in the first part, but for the second part, let's have that. So now, if it's broken, the safe count increases. Otherwise, combinations where we remove a single element. So we have these reports that have 10 elements, for example. We will try the 10 reports that have the first element removed, then the second element removed, then the third one element removed, and so on and so forth. And in order to actually do that, I will do some proper development. And so I'm not touching the first part. That's how I wrote it, that's how it is. But we will write some function that will say check report. It will get a report that is an array of numbers, which we will actually do, and it's gonna be something like this. It kind of guessed that we want the same code. Let's just look it over. So we don't need to paste it. Current, yeah, that's correct, that's correct, that's correct. And now we will kind of improve it because we don't need this. We can just say return false. Here as well, we can just return false. And we don't need break here. We can just say, well, it's gotten here, it's gonna be true, which means that the broken thingy we don't actually need. So this means that this whole code can be replaced with something like this. Save count. If the report is successfully checked, we add 1 to the save count, otherwise we add 0 to the save count. I will just run it. Yeah, on the big input, no problems. And we're gonna get the correct result because it's the same code, only structured a bit different. So now I will just say if check report of the report, then we are increasing the save count because if a report is safe, it's safe. Otherwise, we have a broken report. And now we will have this. So I will do this. So this is what we want to do. We're gonna take on each of the numbers, each of the indices that we have, and for each of them we're gonna create a new report. The new report will be the old report, only we're taking the numbers up to the index and then we're taking the numbers after the index. So, which means for, let's use this. So, as again, this is kind of brute forcing. So we're gonna get the reports 2, 7, 8, 9, 1, 7, 8, 9, and 1, 2, 8, 9, 1, 2, 7, 9, and 1, 2, 7, 8, all of which are unsafe. So we will check them. We can do a bit of analysis to move forward until we get to the first unsafe thing and just find out, but we can look at the input data. The input data doesn't have any too long reports, so we don't have a report that have 1,000 levels, which means that in our case we're not gonna have 1,000 fan-out factor, we're gonna have a fan-out factor like 7 or 8, and that is acceptable because it's only one level. If we had to remove up to 3, for example, that would be a bit higher number. We might think to do something differently. But since it looks kinda low, I'm quite happy with brute forcing this. Never ignore the power of the brute force. Sometimes you might get a code that runs just as fast, because to be honest, in most cases there's no difference between a 1 millisecond solution and a half millisecond solution. But the code will be much cleaner and much easier to understand, because this is not complicated code. Anybody who has programmed JavaScript can understand that we are just trying everything until something sticks to the wall. So yeah, this will be the code. We are looping, removing them one by one, checking the report, and if the report is safe, we found the safe variant, we don't need to continue checking, we're just breaking the for loop, increasing the save count, and moving over to the next report. Let's see what happens now. Oh, now we have 4 of them. That's cool. And let's just run it on the big input. Let's see what the number is. It should be higher than 631. It's 665. Not much higher, to be honest. That is kind of iffy. Let's see if we have that correct. Yeah, it is. So we have our 4th gold star. Let's return to the calendar. It looks really nice so far. We'll see how things go tomorrow. So don't forget to like, share, subscribe, mash all those buttons below, and keep developing.